Hello, how are you? It's Big Mike Kraft. It's been a couple of weeks since we posted our initial YouTube on the assassination of Pierre Trudeau and Fidel Castro by myself, Meyer Lansky, and Paul DiCoco. I, of course, was the chosen contractor to do the hit. Today we're going to discuss another assassination that I personally had no personal knowledge of. We're going to discuss the John Kennedy assassination in 1963. You all have been led to believe that Lee Harvey Oswald did that. Lee Harvey Oswald couldn't have hit himself with that Italian rifle. What happened is the individuals involved all went through Meyer Lansky. Meyer was the main control of the Kennedy assassination, and it reverts right back to the same video that we did prior to this one. Meyer's lust to kill Fidel Castro. You have to understand, Meyer Lansky put up his own money for everyone in the country. He built those casinos with all the cash he had, and then added money from the Teamsters Central States Pension Fund and the Longshoremen's Pension Fund and other industry pension funds at the time, including help from AT&T. Now, all this information was expressed to me through my own personal partners, one being Doc Ferrone of Saratoga, New York, one being Ralph Carpenter, who was a Capone of Gilliland, New York, and my old friend who passed away in 1989, Paul DiCoco of Schenectady, New York. Now, Meyer was the intelligence behind the syndicate. My father knew that. I knew that. Half the guys operating in this country needed his advice, financial advice, to plan different deals. His gentlemanly ways with his union contacts at the time. Now, although all this does no longer exist, it exists in a much smaller scale. The fact that the United States government is so ashamed that Meyer Lansky had something to do with the killing of John Kennedy. John Kennedy, in theory, asked to be killed. He refused to move troops 90 miles south of the Key West area of Florida. Refused. He's carrying on a war in Vietnam, but refuses to take over an island that is theoretically our territory. We let it become free after the Spanish-American War. We should have held on to Cuba. We should have held on to the Philippines and Panama. These things were necessary for national security. But it was Meyer Lansky's contacts, it was Meyer Lansky's brains, and it was Meyer Lansky's intuitive reasoning that put the contractors in your so-called grassy knoll. Why you would continually do this to this country, the lies and the cheating and the stealing that have gone on by civil servants in this country, in the name of, we don't want the people to know. Well, we want the people to know. Because it's 2008, there isn't any private pension funds left except with the UAW. All the other corporations have gone to 401s, which are nothing more than a savings account. And all you people seem to think you're going to retire. It's not going to happen. But federal employees have a guaranteed retirement, although there is no federal employee fund. They're listed as new payments in the next budget. So it's time to grow up, and it's time to realize that the assassination of John Kennedy was all Meyer Lansky and all the Lansky group. And that comes from the horse's mouth. Paul DiCoco, my good friend, my deceased friend, and one of my former mentors. I went with Meyer in 1968. I had Ralph Carpenter and Doc Ferrone as partners from upstate New York. And you all have to realize that upstate New York was the original Las Vegas. All the casinos in Saratoga, New York, around the racetrack, were there to service the entire country, as they were in Hot Springs, Arkansas. They serviced the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. The casinos in Saratoga were around in the late 1800s. It's time to grow up. John Kennedy was not killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. John Kennedy was killed by us. I was only 15 years old at the time. And all my associates right now would all be around 100 years old. I was the youngest of the Lansky group, and I'm going to tell you the facts of life. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to talk to you. You'll have more on the Kennedy assassination. You'll have more on the Castro assassination plot. You'll have more on the Trudeau assassination plot. Right now, this is all we're going to give you. John Kennedy was assassinated by many, many people. He was not assassinated by one man. And the only individual who had the national clout to give the go-ahead with the commission was Meyer Lansky. There was others involved, but even I am not going to give you those names. Those you're going to have to pay for someday. I'll see you again in a few weeks. This is Big Mike Kraft saying to you, have a nice day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads. So long.